battlefield was silent. Ashes floated in the air. Smoke rose from shattered machines. Bodies human and alien lay across the burned ground. The war between Earth and the Zelthor Empire was over. Humanity had won, but not without heavy loss. In the chaos of retreat and victory, one man was left behind. Commander Ryan Cole. He lay beneath the wreckage of a fallen dropship, his body bleeding, one leg trapped under steel. His armor flickered weakly. His communication unit was broken. His breathing was slow. Pain echoed through his bones. But he was alive. "Anyone, do you copy?" Ryan whispered. Static replied. No voice. No rescue. Hours passed. Then night came. The sky of this alien planet turned deep violet. Twin moons lit the sky. Strange sounds came from the trees. Creatures moved in the shadows. Ryan knew he couldn't survive long like this. With great effort, he pulled a knife from his belt and used it to cut straps from his ruined armor. He wrapped them around his leg, turned metal into a makeshift brace, and pushed the steel off his body with a grunt. He dragged himself out of the wreckage. That's when he heard them voices, not human. He grabbed his rifle, though it barely had power left. His vision was blurred, and blood covered his face. He aimed. Breathing heavy. Figures emerged from the trees. Aliens, not soldiers, villagers. They were small, green-skinned, with wide golden eyes and long arms. They wore cloaks of leaves and feathers. At least 10 of them stood before him. Ryan tightened his grip on the weapon, but none attacked. Instead, they dropped to their knees. "What is this?" he thought. One of them, older, with white markings on his face, stepped forward. He spoke in a language Ryan didn't understand, but his voice was soft, respectful. He pointed to the sky, then to Ryan, then to a glowing symbol around Ryan's chest plate. The alien dropped to his knees, too, and bowed. "They think I'm something." Else Ryan lowered his weapon slowly. Days passed. The villagers carried him gently to their settlements, small huts made from vines and stone. They treated his wounds with strange, glowing plants. They placed his armor on a high platform like it was sacred. They didn't fear him. They worshipped him. They called him Turkai, which he later learned meant Sky Flame, a figure from their ancient legend. A being who would fall from the stars and save their world during a time of great suffering. Ryan couldn't believe it. "I'm just a soldier," he muttered. But he needed shelter, food, water, safety, so he played along. He stood tall when they bowed. He spoke few words, letting them imagine their own meanings. He didn't correct their beliefs. He allowed them to wash his armor in rivers and hang flowers around his neck. They gave him a staff carved with symbols, placed rings of crystal on his fingers. At night, Ryan sat alone and looked at the stars. "Earth has left me," he said quietly, "but I'm still breathing." Weeks turned into months. Ryan learned their language slowly. He saw their ways. They were peaceful people, farmers, builders, dreamers, but fear lingered in their hearts. The Zelthor Empire was gone, but bandits, war beasts, and ancient predators still roamed the land. Ryan watched a beast attack a nearby village. He saw the panic, the screams, the deaths. He could not ignore it. He strapped on what armor still worked, powered up the last of his rifle's energy cell, and hunted the beast down. Alone, he returned, carrying its massive head. The aliens were silent at first. Then they began to chant, loud, powerful, "Turkai, Turkai." They sang his name across the jungle. That night, under the moonlight, they lit fires and danced. They carved his story into stones. They believed the god of flame had awakened, that he would lead them into a new age. But not all believed. A figure watched from the shadows. He had skin darker than the others and wore black stone armor. His name was Jurika, warrior from a rival tribe, a skeptic, a leader of those who believed only in strength, not in myths. "This human is no god," Jurek said. "He bleeds like us." He sent a message to Ryan's village. "I challenged the so-called Sky Flame, one-on-one, at sunrise." Ryan stood before the village. His hand rested on the hilt of a curved alien blade. "I accept." The arena was a circle of stone, surrounded by villagers and warriors from every tribe. Drums beat, fires burned. The sky turned gold with morning light. Jurek stepped forward, tall and armored. "You are no god," he hissed. Ryan said nothing. He remembered his training, his balance, his pain. Jurok attacked first. He was fast brute. His blade sang through the air. Ryan dodged, blocked, parried. The alien was stronger. Ryan was smarter. He let Jurok swing wild, tire himself. Then, with a sudden step forward, Ryan slammed his elbow into the alien's throat and brought the blade to his chest. Jurok fell, but Ryan didn't kill him. He helped him up. "You fight well," Ryan said, "but sometimes power comes from more than muscle." The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, they knelt. Even Jurok did. Ryan looked around. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at him with something more than fear, now respect. He had become more than a survivor, more than a soldier. He had become a symbol. One night, as Ryan sat near the fire, a young alien girl asked him, "Will your people return?" He looked up at the stars. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe they already have." She tilted her head. "You are our people now," he smiled. Maybe he hadn't been left behind. Maybe he had been chosen. Far above, in the quiet black of space, a human. Scoutship finally caught an old signal, a weak beacon. Still pulsing from the wreckage, they prepared to land. But what they would find wouldn't be a broken soldier. They would find a legend, a god, a man who had become something greater, simply by surviving. Commander Ryan Cole stood on the cliffs above the village, watching the twin suns rise over the alien forest. The wind carried strange scents, wildflowers, mixed with the soft smoke of morning fires. It had been 6 months since the war ended, and he was left behind. 6 months since the aliens, these gentle green-skinned people, had found him and named him Turkai, their sky-flame dot. At first, Ryan had only wanted to survive, but now things had changed. He wasn't just a survivor anymore, he was a symbol, a legend. And legends have weight. Below him, the villagers worked silently, bowing their heads whenever he passed. They carved his image into stone and wood. They painted his name on walls. Children followed him and imitated his walk, calling out, "Turkai, show us the fire." He had become part of their world. He had learned their language, their stories, their fears. He listened to their songs at night. He trained their young in combat during the day. And slowly, without even meaning to, he gave them something they had not known in a long time: hope. But Ryan still felt like an outsider. His body was still human. His heart still missed Earth. Every night, he stared at the stars, waiting for a signal, a ship, a rescue. But none came. Instead, something else arrived: trouble. It began with whispers. Strange symbols carved into trees, burned animal corpses found near the river. Villagers spoke in hushed voices about a dark tribe from the northern mountains, the Verkal. He knew what came next. He had seen it before on other planets. After war, there was always a power vacuum, and someone always tried to fill it. A few nights later, screams echoed through the forest. Ryan ran toward the sound, weapon in hand. When he arrived, he found 3 villagers injured, cut with blades. Homes were burned. The mark of the Verkal was left on the ground, a twisted spiral in Ashdod. The next day, the village leaders gathered. They wore robes of feathers and gold and sat in a circle around Ryan. Their voices were full of fear. "The Verkal come for blood," the elder said. "They do not believe in Turkai. They do not fear the sky gods." Ryan stood slowly. "Then they'll learn." He called for the strongest of the villagers. Men and women came forward, unsure but willing. Ryan began training them not with high-tech weapons, but with strategy, with discipline, with earth military drills adapted for their skills. Wooden shields, stone-tipped spears, patrols. Watches. The people called it the fire training. Soon, other villages nearby heard of it. Refugees came. Warriors offered their loyalty. Ryan became more than a symbol now. He became a commander again. But power brings enemies. Deep in the mountains, the Verkal watched. Their leader, a tall, bone-armored alien named Grax, growled with hate. "A human plays God among the weak," he hissed. "Then let him face a real war." Grax sent a message carved in blood on an animal's hide. Ryan read the message silently, then dropped it into the fire. He knew it was time. The attack came 3 days later. Hundreds of Verkal warriors marched through the jungle, burning, screaming, killing. But they did not find fear. They found defenses. Walls made of trees and stone. Traps hidden in the ground. Villagers trained to fight, not run, and at the front stood the sky flame. Ryan wore half of his old armor, repaired with alien metal. In one hand, he held a spear glowing with blue energy. In the other, a shield marked with a Turkai symbol. The battle was brutal. Screams and roars filled the air. Fires lit the sky. Ryan moved like a storm fighting beside the villagers, blocking attacks, leading charges. He was faster, smarter, and more experienced than any warrior there. At one point, a giant Verkal brute slammed into him, breaking his shield. Ryan fell, bleeding, but he rose again and drove his spear through the creature's heart. The villagers saw it. They saw him fall and rise again. Just like the stories. Just like their god by nightfall, the Verkal were broken. Grax, their leader, fled into the forest. Ryan did not chase him. He didn't need to. The legend had already won. That night, the village was quiet. Fires burned low. People whispered. As they passed Ryan, their eyes wide with something more than respect now. They believed. But something inside Ryan was changing too. After the battle, he stood in front of the ancient temple the villagers had built for him, made of stone, filled with light crystals, and decorated with carvings of stars. He stared at the walls. They showed his journey falling from the sky, healing the sick, fighting the beast, defeating the warlord. But the last carving was new. It showed him surrounded by flames, floating in the sky, with light coming from his hands. Ryan touched the stone slowly. "I'm no god," he said softly. A voice behind him answered, "To us, you are more than that." It was Kelly, the village healer. She had treated him since the day he arrived. She had become his closest companion here. "You brought us strength when we were weak," she said. "You taught us to fight, to survive. You made us believe again." Ryan looked at her, unsure what to say. She stepped closer. "Whether you believe it or not, the stars sent you." He didn't argue. He couldn't. Something in his heart told him this wasn't just survival anymore. He had found something bigger, something worth protecting, and still, the stars above whispered Earth. Would they ever come back for him? Would they take him away? Or had fate decided otherwise? Deep in the jungle, far from the village, Grax kneeled before a strange dark crystal buried in the ground. It pulsed with ancient Pauya weapon from before time. "The sky flame has awakened," Grax growled, "then let the darkness rise." The sun was setting, painting the alien sky with deep orange and violet light. Ryan Cole stood at the edge of the village temple, his eyes watching the forest far beyond. His armor, half human, half Valiant still, bore scars from the last battle. The spear in his hand pulsed softly with blue energy, gifted by the villagers. The people still called him Tarkai, their Skyflame, their protector, their god. But deep inside, Ryan felt the weight of that title pressing down harder than ever. It had been almost a year since the war ended. Earth still had not returned, and the planet around him continued to change. Villages had united under Ryan's symbol, where there were once small tribes, now stood strong settlements. Fields grew where ashes once lay. Children trained in self-defense. Stories of Turkai spread like fire across the land. But with every legend came a shadow, and that shadow had a name. Grax, the Verkal leader, had not been seen since his defeat. But rumors said he had found something in the far jungles, something old, something terrible. The villagers whispered of a black mountain that glowed at night, a place no one dared enter. Ryan listened in silence. He knew what it meant. War was coming again. That evening, a scout rushed into the village square. His clothes were torn, his body burned. "They're coming," he gasped. The sky, it cracked open. Ryan stepped forward. "Speak clearly, who?" "The Verkal, but not like before. They wear new armor. They carry weapons that burn like the stars." Ryan's heart sank. "Alien tech, forbidden tech," he ordered the village leaders to gather. Maps were rolled out, defenses planned. People were brave, but Ryan knew courage wasn't enough this time. Grax had changed, and something darker was behind him now. That night, Ryan walked alone to the edge of the river. He stared at the sky. "Earth, if you're out there," he whispered, "I could use a miracle." But the stars gave no answer. Suddenly, a voice behind him broke the silence. It was Kelly, the village healer. "You fear the battle," she said softly. "I fear becoming what they think I am," Ryan replied. "A god doesn't bleed. A god doesn't fail." Kelly touched his hand. "You've never claimed to be a god. You just stood when others fell. You gave us something to follow that's more powerful than any myth. Ryan smiled weakly. Then let's hope it's enough. 3 days later, the sky burned. Black ships shaped like claws broke through the clouds. The ground shook as massive dropships landed near the mountains. Grax had returned, but not alone. With him marched creatures of metal and fire, machines built from dark crystal and alien bones, weapons powered by forbidden energy. His army looked like death itself. Ryan led his people to the cliffs overlooking the valley. From there, they saw all the camps, the machines, the massive fortress Grax had built using the strange energy crystal. Ryan recognized the design. It wasn't Zelthor tech. It was older, darker. It was pre-galactic, Ryan realized with a chill. Grax had found ancient war technology. Weapons so dangerous they were buried and forgotten by the oldest civilizations. Now he was using them to become a god himself. The time had come. Ryan called his commanders. We strike before he is ready. We destroy the source of his power. How? One warrior asked. The machines are too strong. Ryan pointed to the map. We don't fight the army. We fight the heart. At midnight, under the cover of fog, Ryan led a small team through the jungle. They moved silently, climbing cliffs, crossing rivers, avoiding patrols. Kelly was with them, carrying healing crystals. Warriors from every tribe followed, loyal to Ryan, loyal to the sky flame. Hours later, they reached the edge of the Black Mountain. It pulsed with red light, humming like a living thing. In its center was a tower made from obsidian and bone. Energy crackled at the top. Grax's crystal dot the source of his new power. Ryan turned to his team. Once we're in, no turning back. We break that crystal, and we break him. They entered the fortress through an old tunnel. Inside, they found horror-twisted creatures, half flesh, half machine. Screams echoed through metal halls. Alien tech glowed with eerie light. Ryan fought with silent fury. Every step forward was a battle. His spear sliced through beasts. His hands bled, his armor cracked. But he didn't stop. Finally, they reached the tower's core. The crystal stood tall, glowing black and red, floating above a platform of steel. Grax was there, waiting. His body was larger now, infused with energy. His eyes burned like fire. You dare enter my temple, Grax roared. Ryan stepped forward. This isn't a temple, it's a grave. They clashed like titans. Grax struck. With a blade of pure energy, Ryan blocked with his broken shield, sparks flying. Each blow shook the tower. Their fight moved across the room through flames, debris, ancient tech. Ryan was fast, but Grax was stronger still. Ryan didn't need to win with strength. He just needed time while they fought. Kelly climbed the side of the chamber. Reaching the control panel near the crystal, she chanted the words Ryan had taught Hearn, old Earth code linked to Ryan's armor system. The moment the crystal pulsed, Ryan saw it. Now he feinted left, then dove forward, driving his spear deep into Grax's chest. The creature screamed, grabbing Ryan by the neck and slamming him to the floor. Pain exploded in Ryan's spine. But it was enough. Kelly touched the final rune. The crystal shattered. A shockwave exploded through the tower. The machines screamed. The walls cracked. Grax's body turned to ash, disintegrating in front of Ryan's. Eyes. Silence followed. Ryan lay on the floor, coughing, blood on his lips. Kelly rushed to him, eyes full of fear. You did it, she whispered. He smiled faintly. No, we did. They escaped the fortress as it collapsed behind them. Fire rose into the sky. The red light faded. The jungle was still again. When Ryan returned to the village, thousands were waiting. Warriors, elders, children. They knelt as he walked through the square, their voices rising in chant. Tarkai, Tarkai, Tarkai. But Ryan didn't raise his arms or smile. He stood quietly, looking at the flames in the distance. He had saved them, but at what cost? In the sky above, a satellite blinked. A long-forgotten Earth beacon finally picked up a signal. A human AI drone recorded Ryan's face from orbit and sent a message home. Earth would now know the truth. Their forgotten soldier was not only alive, he was legend. The fire from the fallen fortress still burned in the northern sky, glowing like a second sun. Villagers stood on rooftops, cliffs, and temple stairs, watching the smoke rise. The war was over. The Verkle were broken. The Dark Crystal was destroyed. But for Commander Ryan Cole, the battle inside him had just begun. He stood quietly at the edge of the forest, his spear planted in the ground beside him. His body still ached from the final fight. Scars covered his arms. His armor was almost gone, just scraps of earth metal and alien plating. His eyes were tired, but alert. They still called him Turkai, but now Ryan wasn't sure who he was anymore. In just over a year, he had become more than a soldier. He had become a leader, a symbol, a myth, and he hadn't asked for any of it. Behind him, Kelly approached slowly. She carried a small bag of herbs and healing stones. Her hands were stained with blood, but her eyes were full of quiet strength. "Haven't slept," she said. "I'm waiting," Ryan replied. "For what?" He didn't answer. He just pointed to the sky. Far above, a dot of silver had appeared. Not a star, not a cloud, a ship. Kelly followed his gaze and froze. "Is it them?" "Yes," Ryan said quietly. "Earth has found me." The villagers soon saw it too. Children shouted. Elders gathered near the temple. Warriors readied weapons, unsure if this was a friend or another enemy. The people had seen too much war. They didn't trust the sky anymore. Hours passed. The silver dot grew larger. Descending slowly, it was sleek, sharp, clearly human design. It glowed with soft blue light, untouched by jungle dust or alien fire. Finally, it hovered above the village square. Then landed with a low hum, a ramp lowered dot, and Earth returned. From the ship stepped 4 people, 2 men. 2 women wearing clean black armor marked with the Earth Alliance symbol. They looked around, with cold, curious eyes. Then one of them whispered into a device, confirmed. Subject Ryan Cole. Located alive. Ryan didn't move. He watched them approach, step by careful step. One officer, a tall woman with gray eyes, stopped in front of him. "Commander Cole?" "Yes," Ryan replied. "You've been missing for 13 months. We received a signal from an old satellite. You were listed Kia. We're here to bring you home." Ryan looked around. The villagers stood in silence watching. Some bowed, some held weapons, afraid their god was being taken away. Others simply waited, eyes full of confusion and sadness. Ryan turned back to the officer. "This is home now." She frowned. "Sir, these are unregistered life forms, primitive. You don't belong here." "They believed in me when no one else did," Ryan said. "They followed me. They fought beside me. I didn't become a hero here. I became human again." Another officer stepped forward. "Sir, Earth needs you. The galaxy is changing fast. We need men like you, real leaders." Ryan took a breath. He had dreamed of Earth for months, its skies, its oceans, its people. But now it felt distant, cold, mechanical. Kelly stood nearby, silent, but her eyes spoke volumes. "Let me speak to them alone," Ryan said. The Earth officers stepped back, confused but respectful. Ryan turned to the villagers. He walked to the temple steps and looked at the crowd. "I was born on another world," he said, his voice strong. "I came from the stars, but I was broken, left behind, forgotten. You gave me more than shelter. You gave me purpose. You believed in me. When I couldn't believe in myself." He looked at the children. "You are strong," at the warriors. "You are brave," at the elders, "and you are wise." He paused, then smiled. "I am not a god. I bleed, I fall, I make mistakes. But I promise we will never leave you." The villagers cheered, and some cried. Others fell to their knees. For them, his words meant everything. The Earth officers waited. One of them muttered, "He's lost it. He thinks he's one of them now." Ryan heard it, but he didn't care. He turned back to them and walked forward. "I'll return with you," he said. Kelly's eyes widened. "But only for a short time. You'll debrief me, get your records, and let me go." "You can't just leave again, Commander," the officer said. "I never left," Ryan replied. "I found where I belong." He stepped into the ship. The villagers didn't cry out. They didn't beg. They trusted him now, and trust is stronger than fear. As the ship lifted off, Ryan stared out the window. The village became smaller below. Fires still burned gently. The temple stood tall. Kelly looked up at the sky, her hand over her heart. 2 weeks later, Ryan sat in a glass room inside an Earth Alliance base. He had been scanned, questioned, tested. They checked his blood, his mind, his memories. They didn't understand what had changed in him. They couldn't see it. "You have to return to duty," the general said across the table. "You're still a soldier." Ryan shook his head. "I was a soldier. Now I'm something else." "You're a hero, Ryan." "No," Ryan said softly. "I'm a protector." The general leaned forward. "You think those aliens need you? More than Earth." "They don't need me," Ryan answered. "But they trust me. And trust is rare these days." After that, he was silent. The general stared at him for a long moment, then nodded, dismissed. A month later, under the twin suns of the jungle sky, the village heard a sound soft at first, then louder. A ship. Children ran out. Elders stepped from their homes. Ryan's ship landed in the same spot. The ramp opened. He stepped down slowly, his armor repaired, his face calm. Kelly waited for him. "You came back," she said quietly. "I said I would." The villagers gathered again, but this time they didn't bow. They stood beside him, as equals. Ryan smiled. He wasn't Turkai anymore. He was just Ryan. But that was enough. He had been left for dead. He had become a god. Now he was home forever.